In the heart of the untamed American West, a legendary clash unfolded between the fierce Cheyenne Dog Soldiers and the mighty United States Cavalry. Join us as we unravel the complex web of political and cultural dynamics that led to the Battle of Sappa Creek. How did this clash shape the future of Native American lands and relations with the U.S. government? Let's find out. The Battle of Sappa Creek, commonly referred to as the Massacre at Cheyenne Hole, remains lesser known but is remembered as a horrifying episode in American history. It occurred on April 23, 1875, amid the wide expanse of modern-day Rawlins County, Kansas, and marked the chilling climax of the Red River War. While it did not stop the Indian hostilities, military leaders in Great Barrington regarded it as a notable achievement. The East, on the other hand, sometimes overlooks this pivotal battle in favor of the more infamous clashes that followed, such as the Lakota and Northern Cheyennes' overwhelming triumph against General Custer at Little Bighorn, or the tragic bloodbath at Wounded Knee in 1890. Before delving into the conflicts, let's get to know the Cheyenne Dog Soldiers, a formidable Cheyenne group, and their rivals from the United States. The Dog Soldiers, also known as the Dog Men or Hotamataneoo in Cheyenne, were famous as the strongest and most militant of Cheyenne's military organizations, emerging as a powerful force in the face of American expansionism during the mid-1800s. While other Cheyenne leaders wanted to negotiate, the Dog Soldiers saw battle as a strategy for resisting expansion. They decorated themselves with feather headdresses and unique dog ropes, symbolizing their ferocity and unwavering commitment to battle. As their power expanded, they questioned the authority of their own council heads and spoke out against forced reservations. With their steadfast military ethics and efficient fighting methods, the Dog Soldiers acquired the same amount of respect as today's Navy SEALs. Their opposition, however, would eventually be fruitless against the overwhelming flood of American expansion. The authority of the Dog Soldiers on the Great Plains had decreased by the mid-1870s. Nevertheless, the Dog Soldiers' legacy lives on to this day, with some members even serving in the current United States military. Meanwhile, the 6th Cavalry, also known as the Fighting Six, traces its origins back to the American Civil War, when it was established as a regiment of cavalry. Since its inception, this regiment has been integral to the United States Army, showcasing its valor and dedication on the battlefield. The Battle of Sappa Creek, a closer look. Company H of the 6th United States Cavalry, headed by 2nd Lieutenant Austin Henley, was engaged in a deadly battle with a band of Cheyenne Indians led by the ferocious warrior Little Bull. And Sappa Creek has a local connection of interest. Private Marcus Robbins, a great combat hero from Company H, 6th Cavalry, took part in the conflict and now lays in eternal peace at Pittsfield Cemetery, adding a personal touch to this historic event. This fateful clash was the culmination of mounting tensions fueled by conflicting interests in land rights and the dwindling buffalo population. The constant invasion of U.S. settlers and the implementation of government policies had driven Native American tribes to the verge of desperation. Let's have a closer look. The war that consumed the Texas Panhandle in the 1870s was termed the Red River War by European settlers of the Comanche, Kiowa, Southern Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples called it the War to Save the Buffalo. The United States Army had kept the Southern Plains tribes at bay as European immigrants asked for more land to construct homesteads. Following the Civil War, the Plains Indian Wars in Kansas became a major problem. Native tribes, such as the Cheyenne and Kiowa, struggled with European settlers who encroached on their traditional hunting grounds, sparking a new type of conflict in the region. The slaughter of buffalo was a major element in the escalation of tensions between Indians and whites. While Europeans considered buffalo as an obstacle to westward advance, Plains Indians relied on them for food, resources, and spiritual significance. The buffalo's extinction was intended to push tribes onto reservations and clear up areas for livestock farming. The Civil War's aftermath had left the frontier forts understaffed, allowing the Indians some freedom. However, with the signing of the 1867 treaty, the Comanche, led by Quanah Parker and the Kiowa, led by Satanta and Lone Wolf, were restricted to reserves. Peace efforts such as General Hancock's expedition and the installation of a peace commission in 1867 only further aggravated the war. A winter attack led by General Sheridan in 1868, culminating in Colonel Custer's triumph at the Washita River, was a turning point. Kansas Governor Samuel Crawford organized the 19th Kansas Volunteer Cavalry to join the conflict. Despite this agreement, European buffalo hunters equipped with advanced Sharps rifles blatantly ignored the contract and slaughtered buffalo continuously, leaving the Indian tribes devastated. By 1869, the severity of Plains Indian fighting in Kansas had lessened, though isolated events occurred. Cheyenne chiefs Dull Knife and Little Wolf were a part of the last raid in 1878, which resulted in casualties and property destruction before their capitulation. These wars had a long-term influence on Native Americans and settlers alike, radically altering their lives and inflicting permanent scars on Kansas land and cultural history. Now, back to the conflict. Amidst all this chaotic backdrop, there was a neighboring jailbreak that intensified the situation, with Black Horse, accused of horrific crimes including murder, rape, and abuse, sending shockwaves through the Native communities. Looking back in 1874, a visionary Indian leader appeared in the form of Isa Tai, a Powhatan Comanche. He was responsible for several settlement attacks, including the well-known battle at Adobe Walls. As a result, General Philip Sheridan and the United States Army increased their attempts to subdue the region. Sheridan led 5 columns into Texas, New Mexico, and Kansas, fighting over 20 engagements. Tribe by tribe, the Indians surrendered after suffering a crushing loss in September 1874. In the spring of 1875, an encampment of Cheyenne Indians, headed by Little Bull, settled near the banks of Sappa Creek in Kansas. The band, which consisted of around 200 warriors, women, and children, sought refuge and sustenance in their ancestral lands. Their tranquility was, however, disrupted on April 23 when a powerful troop of United States Cavalry, led by 2nd Lieutenant Austin Henley, launched a surprise attack. Driven by the pursuit of Little Bull's group, 2nd Lieutenant Henley and his cavalry company embarked on a relentless chase. The Cheyenne warriors, who had been dispersed in fear due to the jail release, were now faced with an overwhelming force. In an awful turn of events, Henley's forces launched a torrent of violence, showing no mercy and taking no prisoners. Controversy quickly engulfed this conflict as tales emerged saying Henley's forces had rejected attempts to negotiate a peaceful resolution and participated in terrible crimes, including the burning of living Indians. The last battle took place near Sappa Creek in April 1875 between a determined band of holdouts and 40 troops from Company H, led by Lieutenant Austin Henley. The well-equipped cavalry and the Cheyenne warriors engaged in bloody combat that lasted for 2 long hours. Despite their brave efforts, the Cheyenne could not overcome their opponents' overwhelming numerical superiority and superior weaponry. The Cheyenne were eventually defeated and forced to flee their encampment. The Battle of Sappa Creek was an important turning point for the United States Army, resulting in a stunning victory. It essentially ended the Red River War and forced the Cheyenne to surrender. Furthermore, it marked the end of the age of Plains Indian warfare, as the balance of power had irreversibly shifted in favor of the increasing American forces. This point in battle took a huge toll on both sides. In the battle, many women and children either killed or were seriously injured, adding to the death toll of the Cheyenne warriors, who numbered over 100. The Cheyenne people's future was permanently altered by the Battle of Sappa Creek. As a result of their defeat, they lost their ancestral lands and their traditional way of life, as the United States' persistent expansionism triumphed over their opposition. Marcus Robbins, a Pittsfield, Massachusetts citizen, was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his heroic deeds during the Battle of Sappa Creek. Robbins skillfully maneuvered through dangerous mud and water with 5 soldiers to surprise an entrenched Cheyenne position, shattering their resistance and shifting the tide of the battle. According to historian William Y. Chalfant, this fight took the deaths of more Southern Cheyenne than any other conflict. Robbins vividly depicted the tense conflict, comparing it to a hornet's nest and describing the furious opposition faced in the stream's natural rifle pits. Tragically, 2 of Robbins' comrades lost their lives within minutes. Robbins' remarkable story was later published in the book Deeds of Valor, 1907, immortalizing his courage for future generations. The Battle of Sappa Creek is a sad reminder of the brutality and moral ambiguity that characterized battles between Native American tribes and the United States government during this volatile period. It raises troubling concerns about the limits of combat and the treatment of prisoners, forming scars that are still visible today. As historians try to put together the complexity of this sad event, it stands as a harsh reminder of the profound human cost and continuing consequences of the battle for land, power, and survival on the American frontier. So, what do you think about this battle? Share your thoughts in the comments below.